Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Bolt City Podcast. Dave Pele, Josh Pele, Mario Heron. As we do this show, Chargers just wrapped up an overtime game against the Tennessee Titans. Chargers on the bad end of things. They lose in overtime at 27-24, and there's so much to talk about this game. So many things that you go, what if? But at the same time, we're just going to get going, and I'll start with Josh. Josh, what is your what if today?
All right. So before we do this show every day, we like to talk to each other and discuss how our days are going. Dave and Mario just talked to each other for 10 minutes. I didn't say a word. I am beyond pissed. Let's just cut to the chase. At the very end of the game, it's 1 yard to go. Derrick Henry's on the sideline, and Brandon Staley calls a timeout. Why in the God's green earth would you call a timeout so they can rest their best player and put him on the field for the 1 yard run to get the first down, which they did? That's grounds for being fired. I cannot take this Brandon Staley crap anymore. It's ridiculous. Derrick Henry is the last guy you want to see on the other side of the field trying to get 1 yard, yet you're going to call a timeout so Spears can get off of the field, who nobody knows who he is, by the way. Nobody knows who Spears is. So Derrick Henry, the guy that we all know, can get in the game and get the 1 yard, which ends up leading to the field goal that wins the game. I cannot believe that he would do that, but I can believe it because he's the worst coach in the NFL. He's the worst head coach in the NFL. 32 out of 32 belongs to your LA Chargers, Brandon Staley.
Tough loss. I agree, Josh. That just didn't make sense. I think stack it on top of the other stuff that didn't make sense. Went for it early on fourth down. Got it. And then there's just other situations where he suddenly doesn't. If we did name game, before we get into everything else about this game and why they lost and who played well, who didn't play well, we just did name game of the Titans versus Chargers. I think you could stop with the Titans after 3. And Chargers, you could stop probably around 8. And the fact that they lost this game to a much, much less talented team, to a team that's probably and arguably the worst division in the AFC, and they probably won't win it. It's truly embarrassing. It's an embarrassing, it's a bad loss, and Chargers are now 0-2 and very much behind the 8 ball to start this year in a window that's supposed to be a Super Bowl window.
All right, so it's funny. Josh and I, we don't get a chance to watch many games together. We're actually in the same room watching the game. And I said to Josh when Derrick Henry's on the sideline, I said, "Who's coaching the Titans? Pete Carroll?" Because Pete Carroll has the other 2 worst coaching moves I've ever seen in my life. One in the national championship game against Texas when they needed 1 yard, and you had Reggie Bush on the sideline after he just won the Heisman Trophy. Whether you're going to give the ball to Reggie or not, at least he would have been a threat that maybe you're going to give it to the best player on the field. But they didn't. They had Reggie Bush on the sideline. And then, of course, Pete Carroll did it again in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, where Marshawn Lynch just ran for 5 yards. All you needed was another run, and you're getting a touchdown, and you're winning another Super Bowl. And instead, they decided to call a pass, and it turns into an interception. So when you see Derrick Henry on the sideline and you understand the situation, all the Titans need is a first down and short yardage, and Derrick Henry's on the side, you're like, oh, man, this is playing right into the Chargers' hands. Then he calls timeout. And in most situations, anyone else, you would say, okay, you want to see how they're setting up. Let's get our defense straight. Well, for sure it's not going to be that same play once Derrick Henry's able to go in. And when they call timeout, it enables Derrick Henry to re-enter. And then here comes Derrick Henry back on the field. And you're going, okay, there are so many teams we talk about in the NFL that we always say the face of a franchise is their quarterback. The Titans' face of the franchise is not their quarterback. It is Derrick Henry. You can talk to the average football fan and say, name one player off the Titans. And I guarantee you 99 out of 100 are going to say Derrick Henry. Maybe someone will say DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe somebody will say Jeffrey Simmons. But you kind of have to know football to know the Titans defense at all. The deal is Derrick Henry is the only guy that's recognizable. The only other team I can think of just off the top of my head like that might be TJ Watt for the Steelers, where you go, he's the first recognizable name, but that's not the point. The point is this happened to the Chargers. And so people want to say you guys are too tough on Staley, especially the people that work for the Chargers. Stop. Just stop it. Okay? You guys lost this game today at the end, and everybody remembers the end because of your head coach. Your head coach made a terrible move that put the Titans in a position to win that game in overtime. And again, that's the most important thing. What happened at the end? Was the final score changed? It was that play right there where you decided to call timeout to let Derrick Henry re-enter the game. Horrible move by the Chargers. And just like I predicted last week on the show, guys, this is an opportunity where Staley loses his job in September. And this, to me, just added, basically another file to put in the report. This was ridiculous.
Ridiculous is the word to use. Ridiculous. Ryan Tannehill had 4 incomplete passes today. 4. The worst quarterback in the league had 4 incomplete passes. And you're calling the defense as the head coach. How does that happen? If you were to tell me that Derrick Henry would have less than 80 yards, only 1 touchdown, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen would both have 8 catches apiece, you say the Chargers 100% win the game. Obviously, it doesn't happen. I mean, I don't even know where you begin with Brandon Staley and this Chargers team. And also the guy that deserves a lot of blame, and people are going to hate this, is Justin Herbert. That was the 2 weeks in a row where the last drive, he looks completely lost. The drive before at the end of regulation was great, kind of, right? We've settled for a field goal. We could have got a touchdown right there and ended the game. We get the field goal, whatever. We go to overtime. We get the ball first. Dude, we got Justin Herbert. And like Mario said, we are much more talented than the team we played today. And then he has the worst 3 plays of the whole game, 3 and out. And the last play, guys weren't even set. It's like he panicked, like he didn't know he was playing quarterback right now. I don't understand how that happens, especially for a guy like Justin Herbert, who we want to believe is a top quarterback in the league. It's hard for us as fans to fight for a guy like Justin Herbert, who has not proven that he can win games at the end and obviously has not won a playoff game. It's bad. This is bad. And if the Chargers lose next week in Minnesota, which is going to be a lot tougher than today's game, you got to get rid of Brandon Staley.
I like where you're going with this, Josh, because it's going to be talked about tomorrow. It's going to be talked about for the next coming week. It's going to be talked about until the narrative changes. This is back-to-back weeks where Herbert's had the ball, a chance to win the game, and he just simply did not win the game. And when you look at it, you look at last week where Herbert makes a terrible decision, throws it where no one's at, gets a penalty, we lose the game. Today, look, the play call maybe came in late, but the reality of the situation is no receiver looked like they knew what they were doing. Okay, I believe Mike Williams motions over. He has no idea why he's motioning over. He has no idea what route he's supposed to run. Every receiver half-asses the route, and boom, we get nothing. It's a 3 and out. The fact that when the Chargers won the coin toss and they received the ball, the fact that not everyone in this stadium, not in my mind at least, I didn't think right away this game's over, Chargers got it, shows where I think where a lot of people think Herbert is right now as a QB. He's good. He's not great. He's not one of the best. If he's one of the best, Chargers win last week's game, and they sure as hell win this game. And the matter of fact, I'm sorry, Charger fans. I'm sorry to say it. He's not in that circle. He's not in that tight-knit group. He's sitting on the outside waiting for them to end their little meeting and a little hangout, and then he gives them a high five after.
You know, the thing that bothers me most about Justin Herbert and what people say about him, because he's our guy, right? We're rooting for him. I mean, we have bets that we throw around the show all the time, and we would say, jerseys and stuff like that, and, get me a number 10 jersey, and he's our guy, and everything about Justin Herbert you're happy about, the contract extension. You hate when someone who's not a Charger fan says he's nothing but a stats guy. That always kind of hurts a little bit, because you want to say, well, he's a winner. And you can't say he's a winner because he doesn't win in the biggest games. This isn't a big game, but it is important that you keep from going 0-2 or 0-3. As Josh just said, the game against the Vikings is going to be one where the Vikings are going to be favored. And you want to say he's our guy and we have faith in him. Well, game 1 was really bad. I mean, I understand the Miami Dolphins are an elite team right now. The difference is the quarterback on the other side is the guy he's going to be compared to his entire career. All the way through, they're going to compare those two guys because where they were drafted. Tua outplayed him on his home field last week. Those were 466 yards and just was ridiculous. We saw that. Well, as Josh said, you just went against the worst quarterback in the league, arguably, and you lost that game too. And I understand it's not quarterback against quarterback, but you weren't able to pull out a win. The math worked out perfect where if you're a Charger fan or a Dolphins fan last week, you're down by 2. You have Justin Herbert. The offense can do whatever they want. They're going to get in field goal range, and they're going to win the game. They make it to overtime, and they completely fell into a shell of what they should have been. One thing I was saying to Josh during the game in the last drive to tie the game up or when they went in overtime was, forget about overtime. You don't know what's going to happen in overtime. Let's play for the touchdown now. I don't understand the thinking. look, I'm a Kellen Moore fan. I understand at the same time Austin Eckler wasn't there. But this was one of those games where instead of setting up having the run to set up the pass, it should have been opposite. It should have been you go pass to set up the run. Joshua Kelly and Spiller and everybody else, they are not Austin Eckler. And even Austin Eckler is a fine runner, but he's not Derrick Henry either. He doesn't want to be that guy. You can't afford for him to be that guy for his body to take a beating. I thought Kellen Moore kind of dropped the ball today, kind of disappointed in his idea that doesn't matter who's back there, we can give him the ball and set the running game up to set up the pass. That wasn't the way to go. I wanted to see the Chargers offense a little more aggressive than what I saw today. And overall, you can point the finger in a bunch of different directions, and we'll get into penalties and everything else. But this was a game, man, you're supposed to win. This is not a good Titan team. This is not an elite team in the NFL. How the hell does that happen when the Chargers are supposed to be an elite team in the NFL?
Yeah, Chargers are definitely not an elite team. We all thought they would be. I really don't know what to say about anything that you just said right now. It's very confusing. Quentin Johnson has one catch today for 7 yards. You turn on the TV and you look at Zay Flowers running all over the field. You look at Jordan Addison running all over the field, and you wonder why we can't get our first-round receiver, who we drafted ahead of those two guys, to do the same thing. How was he not involved in the game plan? Joshua Kelly had the best game of his career last week, yet you force-feed him. Like Dave said today, he obviously was not going to do it. Do you understand that the Titans have a really good rush defense and they practice against Derrick Henry every day? Why do you think Joshua Kelly, for some odd reason, is going to break these huge runs? That's just not who he is. He's a number 2 running back for a reason. 13 carries for 39 yards. Let's just give up the run at one point and say we're going to rely on Justin Herbert to throw the ball down the field. I think you give the Titans they let them loose. You let them out. You give them a break, basically, if you're the Chargers, by letting Joshua Kelly run. That's what they want you to do, yet we keep doing it over and over and over and over again. And we set ourselves in down distance situations that are not favorable. We had a lot of 3rd and longs because we kept trying to run the ball with Joshua Kelly and putting ourselves in bad situations. If you're up 11 points to any team, right, you should win the game. Chargers were up 11-0 against the Titans with the worst quarterback in the league, and they can't finish the job. This falls directly on Brandon Staley's shoulders, but there's also other guys to blame, like you said. Kellen Moore was very confusing today. Zion Johnson had a second bad game in a row. We can't block. The one bright spot I'd say today, we're going to get into everything, but the one really, really bright spot today was Joey Bosa and Kenneth Murray, the two guys that we rag on all the time. They both had great games. Kenneth Murray had yeah, well, they listen to the show. We know that. We've already talked about that before. They both listen to the show. But Kenneth Murray gets that huge penalty, which really hurt. But he had a great game overall, and Joey Bosa did too. Those are two bright spots. But if you're up 11 against any team in the league, you should definitely win.
Up 11 with a bottom tier QB with a only receiver option that's not way past his prime, but definitely past his prime, a little older. It should be locked and sealed. I agree with you guys. Joshua Kelly got 13 carries tonight. Maybe should have stopped around 8 or 9. We should have just said, all right, all we heard this offseason was pushing the ball downfield, pushing the ball downfield, pushing the ball downfield. That's all I got. That's all I heard, right? And I'm like waiting for it to happen. Where's the pushing downfield? Where is that? I'm still seeing just these, 10-yard routes that we're running, and it's just quick passes. I'm like, hey, when are we going to push the ball downfield? And when we push the ball downfield, it's in double coverages. I mean, there's 2 times today where we push it downfield to Mike Williams, and he's in double coverage. Mike Williams is great at 50-50 balls. That being said, 2 guys on him, I think we should look somewhere else. And then, you mentioned Quentin Johnston. The problem with Quentin Johnston is he's one-on-one. We throw him the ball in the end zone. He goes up with one hand. Sir, you are not Justin Jefferson. You are not Jamar Chase. You are not Tyreek Hill. You are a first-year rookie receiver. You're still looking for your first touchdown. Go up with 2 hands. Get the freaking football. Do not try to be fancy with it. Stuff like that. It's like, how are we falling short in this category? And, we didn't have Eckler, which is a big offensive woo, but at the same time, and I said it before the game, this should have been a 400-yard passing game. Now, he had 305. I would say it's due to a lot of pass downs forced later in the game. It should have been air raid all day. And to me, I feel like we really fell short in that. The mistakes in the end zone, the red zone too, like earlier when we just settled for 3, that should have been a touchdown. Just little things in this offense where I'm still like trying to understand, what are we doing here?
No, absolutely. I mean, there are things that we sit there and go, okay, great. Keenan Allen looked like Keenan Allen at his best. Am I right? 8 receptions, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Fantastic. Targeted 10 times. Good. Mike Williams, they were doing a lot to get Mike Williams the ball today. You could see it. But as you said, it seemed like the Titans knew Mike Williams was going to be a big part of their game plan for the Chargers. I'm just amazed when I look back and forth and I look at the quarterbacks, and you go in 2 games in a row, and technically Justin Herbert was outplayed by the other team's quarterback. And, Tannehill, 20 of 24, ends up with a quarterback rating of 123.3. Herbert, the quarterback rating, 104.2. Okay. So neither guy throws an interception, but at the same time, Tannehill did enough. And when you watch Titan football, it is boring as hell. I mean, we said last week
So
that
boring.
that the Miami Dolphins are one of the most exciting teams, along with the Chargers. I mean, when the Chargers have the ball, you aren't leaving to go to the bathroom or find something to eat. The Chargers are one of those teams you want to see what are they going to do offensively. It looked like they just didn't go at it aggressive enough to me today. And the Titans are a team with a new GM that's kind of rebuilding in a really bad division. And we said, look, they're in a division with the Texans, and the Jaguars are the best team, and the Colts, and they are not a very good team, and they're rebuilding for basically a process of 3 years before they think they're back to being a team that hopefully makes a run for the Super Bowl. The Titans are shocked today too. I guarantee you, when you see any clips of what the Titans were like in the locker room today, they're out of their mind. And the Titans are a boring football team. The Chargers are an exciting football team. But the Titans and Mike Vrabel, and we talked about it this week, Vrabel is one of the better coaches to get the most out of his players in the NFL. And that's exactly what he did today.
Mike Vrabel is a top coach, and Brandon Staley is a bottom coach. The Chargers had 14 chances on third down. How many times did they convert? You guys have any guesses?
Wasn't it 2?
2. And we should have won the game. That's unbelievable. 2 out of 14. You have Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, all these guys, and you cannot convert. You say the Chargers should win the game, but if you go 2 for 14, you lose almost every single time. It was a really hard game to watch, but Mike Vrabel, that's what he does. He makes games ugly, and he wins them at the end, which is unbelievable with the team that they have. DeAndre Hopkins really didn't do much, but yet Titans win. Treylon Burks, the guy that Mario says isn't that great, we let him run all over the field for his 3 catches. I mean, unbelievable stuff that doesn't make any sense. Things that drive you crazy, that make you stay up at night, like Michael Davis giving an inside release with no safety help on the goal line for an easy touchdown. How does that happen? What part of the playbook is that? How do you not know what you're doing in a situation like that where you need a stop and you let a guy just run right to the middle of the field? Penalties on third down. Sebastian Joseph Day and Derwin James with 2 huge penalties on third down. Kill the team. These are things that keep you from winning football games, and they've proven it today. And frankly, the Chargers have proven it for their entire history. This is what the Chargers do. They do boneheaded plays and make stupid decisions that lose football games.
And penalties come down to coaching. That means
100%.
It's allowed. It's what it shows discipline. It shows discipline. It shows every single time a well-coached team does not commit penalties, does not do things that hurt their chances to win football games. And yet the Chargers repeatedly under Staley found themselves in a spot where they get these dumb penalties and dumb situations that screw them over in the game. I don't know about I'm imagining you guys picked up on this as well. If I watch this film of this Titan games, I am going, play action works on this team 10 times out of 10. Every time there is play action and then Tannehill went in a far drop back, I was like, it's going to be a deep ball. And there was a deep ball to Burks, to freaking Chris Moore. No one knew who Chris Moore was before today. And he just catches a freaking deep ball on us. Like, stuff like that. It's like, guys, we are behind the 8 ball. And we continue to be behind the 8 ball. And it's just, like you said, guys played well today. Bosa played great today. I was surprised by that. Thule played great today. I was surprised by that. Kenneth Moore played great today. I think he had 7 total tackles on the day. Let me double check that right now. Yeah, 7 total tackles on the day. Like, great stuff. Great player. A couple tackles for loss. And yet we still fall short. It's insane. And we played right into the Titans. We played, it was ugly football. It sucked football. It was bad football to watch. But guess what time of possession was? 28-10 to 41-50. Titans. Herbert sits down, eats peanuts. While Tannehill hands off to Henry. That's the game.
So you mentioned some of the guys that did positive things on the defensive side of the ball. Khalil Mack, even though his numbers won't show it, if you look at Khalil Mack in the second half, played a great second half. He was all over the place. A deflected pass, almost intercepted it. He was disruptive. Khalil Mack played a game like he was a younger guy. It was nice to see him be disruptive, and that really, I think, in this point in his career, that's what you're going to expect from him. You aren't going to expect the crazy plays that stand out, like multiple sacks in a game, that kind of deal. But he was disruptive. It was helpful to have him on the field during today's game. I enjoyed seeing it. At the same time, look, the team loses. All right. So you go down in the locker room and then you know, nothing like losing, I'm sure, if you're part of a team like the Chargers and you have to get on a flight back to Los Angeles, sit in the plane for 4 hours after you're just fuming. And you go, well, what was it like in that locker room? Which guys were upset? Like, in your guys' mind, which guys do you think use their voices to say, I'm going to throw my helmet into the locker, I'm going to make a statement, I'm not okay with not only being 0-2, but losing the way we did the last 2 weeks? There's only one guy in my mind that I think basically shows his feelings on his sleeve and says, enough is enough, that, it's BS kind of a deal. And for me, that's Derwin James. I don't think there's another guy on this team that has the intestinal fortitude of trying to keep it clean to sit there and lose their mind in front of this team and say this isn't good enough.
Derwin James is the only person that came to my head when you asked the question right now, that he visibly is upset. I'm sure other guys are really upset too, but how many guys can get upset and somebody's going to listen to them or think, oh my God, this is not okay? Derwin James is the only person that does that on this team. I would love for Keenan Allen to, say something like, this is not cool. 24 points.
Justin Herbert, please.
Justin Herbert, please. But we know he's not that guy. We've seen it. Justin Herbert, unless I'm missing something, there are things happening behind closed doors, obviously, that you don't see. But up to this point, we have never seen Justin Herbert be vocal and say things aren't okay. He actually vouched for Brandon Staley last year in Lombardi when things were going to crap, which really makes you upset as a fan, thinking, if you're okay with this, what kind of person are you? Are you not interested in winning? Because Justin Herbert's football career, I'm not just talking about NFL, his football career has never proven to be a winner. Oregon wasn't a great winner. Chargers thus far isn't a great winner. I want you to put your foot down as a fan and show that this is not cool and, hold guys accountable. The penalty thing drives you nuts as a fan. How does that keep happening, especially on third down? I know that's Derwin James's defense and he'll take a hold of it, but even the Chargers, man, the holding penalties when you need to get third down conversions, the things that kill you, you would love for your quarterback to stand up.
I want my quarterback also to, dude, let's get the 2-minute drill down. I mean, I've kind of more letdowns on this 2-minute drill in the past year and a half than I've counted ups. I can't remember the game last year, but I remember last year there's 2 minutes left to go in the half, and they just gave up on even running a 2-minute drill. Then we start off this year in back-to-back games where there's the 2-minute drill falls short, and then overtime we fall short. And I agree. I think it's Derwin James that locker room. I think it's also Keenan Allen, because that guy does not. His window is really, really short now. Very, very short, and his years of being old reliable just really running up. And the other thing that stuck out to me in this game, his stats are great for the game, and it looks good and everything like that. But no target to Mike Williams in that final drive before OT. Very interesting to me. Very, very interesting. A lot to Allen. Palmer on quick slants. Where was Mike Williams in that situation? It's time that the Chargers have their stars be stars when they need to be stars. I think that's the area where we really fall short. And we have great players, but they don't make the big-time plays. If your great players don't make big-time plays, you're going to lose. Okay, it's in all sports. So that's a frustrating thing. But it's also, like, what do we expect here, guys? We brought back Staley. Like, we brought him back. Like, we shouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
not my pal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Tommy Boy sat up there and said, we're going to run this thing back one more time. And it's not going to get any easier, too, by the way, because we face Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins next week. So make your Kirk Cousins jokes. Justin Jefferson's pretty good. Then we have a rival game versus the Raiders, which is always a good game. Oh, we face the Dallas Cowboys defense, who looks like the best defense in the league. Then after that, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, who are struggling right now. But I would bet money on it that by then they have it figured out.
So it's funny you mentioned Mike Williams. Where was he as far as being targeted at the end of the game, whether regulation or overtime? It was funny how all of a sudden Donald Parham was targeted twice. Josh Palmer was targeted twice.
What the hell Where the hell did they come on the field? Are you kidding me?
He just ran out there?
Yeah,
it's kind of strange, wasn't it? that all of a sudden,
was
Josh
insane.
Palmer did it. It was the only wide receiver not to get his foot down on one of those catches, and then he's targeted twice, and Donald Parham Jr.'s targeted twice. Like, what the hell are we doing? It's big time players step up in big time situations. Look, everybody knew Jordan and Kobe were going to get the ball. Guess what? You still got them the ball. It's just the way it goes. It's the way receivers want it too. It was very, very strange the way it went out. I know it as Charger fans who are nice enough to follow this show. You're fuming right now too. I mean, we talk about walking down the street at the end of games and just kicking invisible cans and cussing under your breath, and you're angry as can be. It's now 2 weeks in a row. I mean, we're so excited for the football season to start. Look, I'll tip my hat to Tom Telesco for this offense that they have and the coach. I mean, I'm still happy Kellen Moore's here. The defense is still a wreck. It's the defense is not great, as someone said to me yesterday, screaming in my face, and I'm one of the coaches. This team has scored 95 points in their last 3 games, and we've given up 98, and just losing their mind. And this made me laugh. Sorry, Mario. This is not me that said it. And he's screaming, and he goes, and I listen to your show, and I never miss an episode, and I just want to sock Mario right in the face. And I'm like, for what? Just because. And I'm like, okay. So there's no reason exactly he wants to punch you in the face, but for some reason, Mario, he's so mad at the Chargers, he wants to take it out on your face. And
no, that's
like,
good.
okay,
I like that.
Okay,
let's keep that energy up. Tell him if he sees me in person, we can just go. I'll get my stress out. He can get his.
So, but that's where it is. That's where Charger fans are at. And I hate to say it. I know it's been for years. Look, I don't want to hear about that. This has been like this since 1979. Nobody cares. Okay. We care about this week, today, and then next week against the Vikings. That's all that matters is now, right? As Mike Ditka used to say, the past is for cowards. We're moving forward. But this team needs to show something that shows they're ready to move forward. Look, the Chiefs were garbage forever. And all of a sudden, the Chiefs are the talk of the town. The Patriots are garbage forever. They became the talk of the town. Even before I was born, the Steelers were the laughing stock of the NFL. And guess what? They won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years. And all of a sudden, man, you're known as that team, that franchise. There's no reason why the Chargers can't turn the page. And I'm sorry, it all starts with the head coach. You will not turn the page until you get a different head coach, a real head coach, one with a name, one you're willing to pay. Marty Schottenheimer, when he came here, was a big name. I understand he didn't win a Super Bowl, but Marty Schottenheimer won over 200 games, and he did it with bad teams like the Browns and the Redskins and the Chiefs. And then he comes here all of a sudden, and the players fall right in line, and he goes 14-2, and you still fire him. And then you go back to the guys who should be assistant coaches, like the Norv Turners, right? And it's just what this franchise is. Until you hire a coach that is capable of carrying the load of making tough decisions and showing us that you can do something different. I don't know what Staley is, guys. Last time I'm going to say, and Josh, I'll let you go. I don't know what the hell is the deal with Staley. 2 years ago, the guy's going for it on 4th and 18 from his own 18. Today, in a situation where we just saw the Titans, who have no offense at all, decide to go for it in a situation where we're going to make this a 4-down situation, because if we punt it, we're only going to gain 15 yards. And if we go for it, we might get the first down. The Chargers were in the same situation on their next drive, and Staley, we're going to punt it. I don't understand what the hell the Chargers are doing. I don't know what Staley's is. Maybe he's scared of his own shadow. Maybe he had a talking to because of what happened a couple years ago. But man, if this is the best he can do, it's not going to be good enough. It's never going to change, guys, until you get somebody in there that can be a head coach. It's a real head coach.
Yeah, you brought up my next point, which I hate when you freaking do that. Have you ever noticed when it's the worst when the guy before you says something you're about to say? Have you ever noticed the Titans always stay on the field on 4th down if it's between the 40 and the 40? Do you ever notice that?
Yeah.
Titans football is awful to watch, but if you ever watched them play, they have a thing. If it's whatever, 3rd and less than 3 yards, three or less yards, and it's between the 40 and the 40, they're going to go for it. That's just the thing that they have. The Chargers, like Dave just said, you never know when they're going to go for it. There is no rhythm to their offense when it's on 4th down. They're always looking around. It's really frantic. They always look at the coach. Are we going to do this? We're not going to do this. If you go for it on 4th down, not only do you show you have faith in your offense, but you also have faith in your defense that they're going to get a stop if you don't get it. I love that the Titans do that. I love that Mike Vrabel has instilled that into the Titans team, that we're just going to go for it between the 40s if it's 3rd and less. So I don't or 3 yards or less. I don't understand why the Chargers don't do it. Why do they have to have a talking to between the GM or whatever with Brandon Staley on why they shouldn't do it? You're the coach, man. This is what we hired you for. You make these decisions. We're going to trust you as a coach to go forward and do this because it shows your team that you're confident. Mario, I have a question for you. I'm curious on this. Justin Herbert.
Fans love it too. Fans love it.
Even when the Chargers didn't get it, when they would go for it on fourth down, I loved it as a fan because it did what I just said. It shows that you have faith in the offense and faith in the defense. Mario, I got a question for you. Justin Herbert does not run the ball ever. Does that bother you? Whenever you watch the Kansas City Chiefs, how many times did Patrick Mahomes on 3rd and 2 get 3 yards? You know what I mean? Yeah. Josh Allen, when he's actually not running into guys as hard as he can and throwing his body everywhere, he'll get the 3rd and 2s. He'll run the ball. Justin Herbert never, ever runs the ball. I think today he had 1 carry for 0 yards. Why does that happen? Why does a guy that can run like that not get it? Is he told not to run? Why aren't we doing the play actions where he has the option to pass the ball too? And if he doesn't, he can put his head down and slide maybe. I don't understand why that's not part of the Chargers offense, why he does not move outside the pocket.
Because he can run, by the way, just to make your point. He did it at Oregon. Everyone said he was a great runner.
He's fast. Yeah.
And it's not like last year it made sense because he suffered a rib injury pretty early on. So it's like, all right, I get it. You're not going to risk that injury. But now, like, it's the most confusing thing. So there's even times today where, like, there are throwaways. And you're like, look, you don't have that. You know, it's not like you have a lot of pressure. You can escape out and just get through. Like you said, just get 3 or 4 yards. You don't have to get 15. You don't have to. You don't have to juke out the next guy. You don't have to try to hurdle the guy like Josh Allen does every freaking time. He's going to kill himself doing it. I don't know why he keeps doing it. He's literally going to hurt himself. But it's one of those things where it's like, get with the age. In today's age, the quarterback, the Tom Brady's it's not in at the moment. It's like wearing, you know, the baggy jeans, right? Like you Justin Timberlake in 04. It's just not in. The baggy suits are not in at the moment. It's just not in. What's in right now is having your QB drop back, and if there's nothing there, he goes on a run. And usually if he, you know, Herbert situation, since you're not running, you don't have a spy. No spy, that's a quick 5, easy 5. You develop a spy, that's one less guy that can drop back in coverage, frees up your receivers a little bit more. It's a very, very frustrating thing. It's just one of those things was get with the times. All right, quit wearing the baggy suits. Wear some tight. Let's get it going a little bit. You know, the Jordan 1s are back in. Let's put those on, buddy. Like, come on.
You know, it's funny. You bring up the way to run as a quarterback. Like, the thing that frustrates me about Patrick Mahomes, not only does he run just enough to help his team at all times and not get hurt, he's really not that fast of a guy. He looks fast. How many times do you look at Mahomes and he gets out of bounds and it looks like he was less than a half a yard away from someone just killing him? Like, dude, you're going to time this wrong and you're going to get killed inbounds, but he doesn't. He knows how to do it. I mean, he's again, Justin Herbert really is a better athlete than Patrick Mahomes when you look at what he can do with his body, but he never runs. You wouldn't know unless you followed him in college. You'd have no idea that he's able to move the way he does. Josh Allen does it 100% the wrong way. As you said, he hurdles guys.
Wrong way.
Runs straight into the line. I mean, and a lot of times he fumbles it when he does it. His body, I don't care how big he is, his body's not going to be able to withstand it. You can't do that. You got to be able to protect yourself. You make way too much money. You're too important to the franchise. Josh is right. It's a whole nother element. It's a whole nother element to the defense too. It freaks them out knowing that this guy has a chance of running. I think it's a great call right there, Josh, that Herbert has something in his bag of tricks that the other team never sees. Just never sees at all. And there's a way to do it. If Patrick Mahomes can do it, for sure Justin Herbert can do it.
Well, you just let the defense off the hook if they know you're not going to run the ball. The whole thing with Phillip Rivers was there's no threat he's going to run. But with Justin Herbert, there should totally be a threat that he's going to run. And I'm not talking about Anthony Richardson and Justin Fields where you have design runs and he gets his head knocked off. I'm just talking about running smart like Patrick Mahomes, like we just talked about. He ran a 4.68 in the 40, and that's not the fastest time, but that's pretty freaking fast for a quarterback. Why not use it? Why not design a couple things where it looks like he's going to throw the ball and just slide? You don't have to get hit. I think Tua did a better job of running than him, and Tua can't even see over the line. Justin Herbert at least can see the guy that's spying him on the other side of the field, like Mario said. If you have the threat of running the ball as a quarterback, you take one guy out of coverage because they have to worry about you. Right now, there is no threat at all that Justin Herbert is going to run because he's a statue back there. It's Phillip Rivers 2.0. I don't understand that. When you drafted Justin Herbert, that was the first thing I thought about. Oh, my God, we have a dual threat quarterback. I've been watching the Chargers for the last 20 years with a guy that does not move. We finally have a guy that can run, and he just doesn't do it. It's very confusing as a fan. I don't know what you do if you're the Chargers though. If you're Brandon Staley, because let's say they're not going to fire him because I don't think they will. Is there any moves you would make? Would you bench any guys? J.C. Jackson didn't have a bad game today, from what I remember. Would you bench
No.
any certain players, or would you keep the guys that are out there?
I feel like a guy is like showing a fight today. I think that's a confusing thing. It's like I can't really think of anyone that played terrible. Like Mack had a great second half. Boza showed up. Tooley played a great game. Kenneth Murray played a great game. I think what comes down to is we're losing two leaders on both sides of football. Eric Kendricks did not play. Austin Eckler does not play. That really, really hurts us. I mean, that really, really, really hurts us. I think going forward, I mean, obviously you're not going to let go of a coach 2 games in. It's also not in their MO to fire a coach midseason or in the beginning of the season. I think the positive that you have is, look, the next 2 games we have are hard games. It's hard in Minnesota, but that's a defense that sucks. So we can pat the stats. Raiders defense, Max takes away Max Crosby, and what do they have? So I guess in hindsight, you go, all right, these next 2 games, we play weak defenses and weak QBs. And then we face the Cowboys. And that's on national television, 7:15. It's 8:15 Eastern time. All the lights on. That's where you can show what you are. It's early in the season, so you can't get too down on them.
You
But at
got
the
it.
same time, you got to. Something's got to change. Something's
Dude,
got
week
to change.
3 is a must-win game.
It's literally a must-win game.
It is. I mean, really,
Yeah.
how many teams go 0-3 and make the postseason? It hardly ever happens. Week 3 has become a must-win game for the Chargers, who are now in last place. They might be, by the time as we're doing the show, the Broncos are playing, so they're tied for last or they're in last by themselves. Okay, so the Chiefs take care of business. Raiders lose at Buffalo as we do the show right now. Broncos are playing, but still, it's a must-win game. And you go, okay, you just mentioned, I'll look past the Vikings real quick. The Raiders are very similar to the team you just saw today, by the way, except for the quarterback's better. Jimmy G is better than Tannehill. But the Raiders are very similar to what they are. Let's point this out, too, about the Titans. The Titans played today's game without a starting cornerback and without a starting safety. They're banged up. I mean, you expected a lot more. It's just, how does that happen? You just said, Mario, well, we had a couple guys who were missing. Well, that's where you talk about depth of the roster. Some of the guys, as we said, we've been tough on some of these guys. So I do want to give them credit when they play well. Kenneth Murray played the best game I've seen him play as a Charger today. He was active. He had 10 tackles. He moved around. He had some big hits. He also had a horrible penalty. At the same time, Joey Bosa, again, very critical of Joey for not playing because he says he's hurt, and it's always tough to question a guy's injury. But Joey didn't start the game. Had a bad hamstring going in. Not sure Joey was going to play, but when Joey did play, he got the most out of his body, and he helped the team with 2 sacks. Nothing negative to say about Joey Bosa. He gave us everything he had. Talking about the young guys, and this is the guy you and I and Josh picked to say he's our favorite rookie, expected the most. It was Tooley. Tooley was all over the place. Actually, could have given him credit for half a sack, right, for what happened with Bosa. So, Tooley was outstanding. And one we didn't mention either, and we're all big fans of his, Morgan Fox had a good game today, too. I understand Morgan Fox, I think, is only credited for one big play, but Morgan Fox was around. I mean, you can sit there and find Morgan Fox, and you'd go, man, that guy played today. I don't know what changes you make. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what you go with as far as schemes go. I don't know if it's mindset with these guys. I don't know why they can't close out games. Mario, I think you said it at the beginning of the show about the 2-minute drill. Every team in the NFL ends practice the same way. It's the 2-minute drill. Every team does it. Everyone has set plays. Everyone knows how it goes. Teams go to prevent defenses to try and not give up a touchdown. But the 2-minute series for the Chargers the last 2 weeks has failed them. Failed them against Miami, failed them against Tennessee. And you go, how does it happen? Last night before I went to sleep, it was as late as can be. I'm watching Colorado and Colorado State. It was amazing how Colorado was able to run that 2-minute drill, no problem, right? And you're going, every team in the pros and every team in college has a 2-minute drill, but for some reason ours stinks. Why?
I'm not going to tell you why. You know what the Chargers 2-minute drill looks like? It looks like the fire drill from The Office. Oh my God, it's happening. Yeah. Everybody just freaks out.
That is it.
You literally end every single practice the same way at the 2-minute drill, but we never execute on the 2-minute drill. It drives you nuts.
It makes you wonder, Josh, real quick. Yeah. It makes you wonder, do they execute it in practice? And if they don't, I'm going to go back to the line Nick Saban used to tell you at Alabama. We aren't going to do it until we get it right. We're going to do it till we never get it wrong again. Like, do they just go in the locker room? Like, I always had this thing with my kids, Mario. Like, if they're playing basketball, you can't go into the locker room if you miss your last shot. We're going to stay out here till you make your last shot. It's bad luck. You don't practice losing habits. You make your last shot, or you make 9 out of 10 free throws. Otherwise, you don't go home. You always finish on a high note. So, I'm wondering, how can our 2-minute drill be so bad?
What concerns you more? Not speaking of the 2-minute drill and the both sides of the ball as a whole, the offense or the defense?
I'll go first, Mario. All right,
Okay.
I'll go first. It's the offense, okay? Because last week's 2-minute drill against Miami, they were shocked when all of a sudden, here comes the blitz. They were completely taken back. Whoa. It's like playing flag football. Dude, you got to count 3. What the hell are you doing running in? Like, what are you talking about? I mean, am I right? They were completely shocked 2 times this year where it mattered the most. The last drive against the Dolphins, what the hell's going on? And then overtime today. What the hell happened? Right? Those are the 3 plays?
Yeah, like, and the play to Mike Williams is double coverage. What are we doing? Why is that why are you going there at the ball? Like you said,
how
you
are
practice
you so
this?
shocked?
Yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, maybe in practice, double coverage works.
Yeah, because you're going to go against J.C. Jackson.
Yeah.
It's really single coverage.
Could work.
Yeah.
I mean, am I right? The Miami thing was embarrassing. Today in overtime, completely embarrassing. What the hell's happening?
Twice, not even the 2-minute drill, but twice it's happened where the Chargers defense has given up a touchdown in, I think, 2 plays or less. It happened last week when J.C. Jackson stayed in the end zone. They got the ball back, Tyreek Hill, 38-yard touchdown. Then today, deep pass to Treylon Burks, touchdown right after that with Derrick Henry. It's 2 times. The defense is on the field for about 2 or 3 plays, give it back to the offense. That can't happen. It's very confusing watching the team. Like, how do you keep giving up these big plays like there's no coverage whatsoever? Ryan Tannehill is never, ever supposed to throw only 4 incomplete passes in a game. Even when he's in college, he's just not that guy. He's never been that guy, yet you cannot stop Ryan Tannehill. That's concerning. And Kirk Cousins is a guy that's not playing – Kirk Cousins is really interesting because everybody likes to goof on Kirk Cousins. Dude, I don't think he's that bad. And with this Chargers defense, I think he's going to make them look really bad next week unless something drastic changes. I don't know what they could possibly do to make a difference. You're going to get Derwin James to play well, always does, and you cannot rely on anybody else. Seriously, I think Kirk Cousins can make this really, really bad next week.
Over 700 passing yards the past 2 games. You're right. Cousins, look, prime time, he's not good. Say whatever you want. He can still embarrass you. If you have a weakness, he can find it out. And it's also really easy to find out your weakness in your secondary when you have the best freaking wide receiver to throw to. Who's, by the way, going to come a little bit pissed off because he screwed up in the last game against the Eagles. So he's going to come in a little mad, which is fun, which is good times, right?
Think about it.
Yeah.
10 days.
10 days. 10 days to think about it for a guy that's got a pretty good work ethic and likes to probably take a little revenge. And also the guy that, single-handedly beat the Bills last year. So that's fun. So that's good stuff. If you want to talk gambling, any degenerate gambler out there, you take Justin Jefferson's over receiving yards and you hammer that to the moon because that is going to be the easiest money maker next week because he's going to have a bajillion yards all over the Chargers. But that being said, offense, defense, more worried about. I'm definitely still worried about the defense. The over the 700 passing yards, dude, I'm really, really, really scared. At some point, the true talent of the offense is going to come through. Defense just still sucks.
So, speaking of the defense, think about it. 3 of the first 4 weeks, you're going against Tyreek Hill, you're going against Justin Jefferson, you're going against Devontae Adams. I mean, holy cow, right? I mean, you got to fix it fast. You got to fix this thing fast. Also, bring up the fact about Justin Jefferson. He's playing at home. You don't think being at home for 10 days in Minnesota, he didn't hear about it through talk radio and through Twitter and through the newspaper and everyone else that's just ripping the hell out of him. The Minnesota Vikings are an unusual team because they're a team of the state. It's not just the city. They're the state's football team. And as you know, Mara, you know that division very well. Man, that division is something else. Josh and I were talking about it during the game, talking about the Bears even, saying it's amazing when you have Michael Jordan and the Bulls and you have the Blackhawks and you have the Cubs and you have tremendous fan bases that the Bears are still the number 1 team. And the Packers are number 1 and the Vikings are number 1. And it is tough. Maybe the Red Wings are number one in Detroit, but you understand what I'm saying. That division is different. And now here we are, backs are against the wall in a must-win situations, and you can't afford to go 0-3. And they go 0-3, man. If there's not a coaching change, what can I tell you? I mean, you guys quit on the fans. You quit on the guys in the locker room. You lost a year of Keenan Allen's career. That's what you did.
Do guys on the team feel the same way about Brandon Staley that we do, Mario?
I imagine at this point, yes. After everything, after all we heard after the playoff loss last year, that this was something that's ringing in their head. You start 0-2, heads are going to roll. And questions are going to be asked. Frustration is going to be had, especially when it's two teams especially one of the two teams you definitely should have beat. You're going to be a little upset. You're going to be a little angry.
If you're Derwin James,
think,
hold on real quick. If you're Derwin James, do you think you realized during the game what he just did with the timeout? Do you think they realize what's going on? Or do you think they're just part of the game? They don't understand what's happening.
I don't think they realized it until they saw Derrick Henry on the field all of a sudden. Then they realized, oh my God, we just put Derrick Henry on the field. I don't know. You and I realized it right away, Josh. We looked right at each other and went, oh my God, they just put Derrick Henry back on the field. Right? I don't know if the players did.
But after the game, they obviously know what happens. You see on Twitter, everybody's freaking out about it. But sorry to cut you off.
Are they writing about on Twitter right now? I didn't look.
Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. What do you think, Dave? Do you think the players on the team realize in the moment or maybe on the plane, what's really happening?
I think the first guy to realize it was Derwin James. Maybe I'm giving too much credit, but I think as soon as the timeout was called, I think Derwin James went, we just put the best player back on the field. What are we doing? It's one of those, it's funny. Crazy, I know the head coach can call a timeout too in the NFL. He just walks down to the referee and calls timeout. But it's like, if I was Derwin James and I saw it, and the player has to call the timeout, I just completely would look back and go, I'm not calling timeout. There's no way. I'll die on this sword. And when I get called to the sideline, why didn't you call a timeout? Because I don't want to put Derrick Henry back in the game. That's why. There's a guy named Spears who nobody heard of going into this game that was in the backfield, not Derrick Henry. I mean, don't you think Spears' family was shocked to see him out on the field in that crucial situation?
Do you hear the announcers?
Yeah.
Remember what the announcer said? What the hell? This is paraphrasing. Basically said, what the hell is going on? Why is Derrick Henry on the sideline? Then Brandon Staley calls a timeout, and they go, oh, what are they doing? That's literally what they said on the broadcast. It is craziness. Cameron Dicker is the only bright spot for me. Seriously, swear to God.
That would have been the back-to-back weeks, two of them screwing that up. Because remember last week they had that problem with Derrick, but not having Derrick Henry on the field in key situations. So I've been back-to-back. Instead of the talk on social media from this game being how dumb Staley is and just how pissed poor the Chargers are right now, like that would have been the type of conversation. It's like, how is your best player not on the field during this?
Yeah.
But instead, we lose. So that's fun.
I tell you, Mario, I was so frustrated during the game, and I'm not preaching violence at all. I'm just talking the way guys talk when they're basically in the living room.
By the way, anytime you say I don't preach violence or like I don't root for this, it's you are. It's fine. Like it's
okay. Maybe I shouldn't say what I said to Josh. That maybe this is what I shouldn't say. I said to Josh. I'm just going to do guy talk here. Okay, I'm going to give you a little behind the curtain deal. So I turned to Josh and I said, "All right, name two coaches in the NFL you think you could take, and name two coaches in the NFL you wouldn't want to fight." I'll ask you the same question. Can you name two coaches in the NFL that you go, all right, if I had to fight these two guys, these are the two guys I would fight, and two head coaches you wouldn't want to fight?
The two I would want to fight. I mean, you want to go old. It's like Pete Carroll would be easy because he's old, and like Bill's pretty old. The guys you don't want to is I think Campbell, McVay, and Vrabel all up there. I mean, they would body you. Like those guys are nasty.
You were ready to go. You had three right there. I had Campbell and Vrabel. I would not want to fight. And then I was like, I'm taking McDaniel of the Dolphins in a heartbeat, and then I'm taking Staley. I'm pretty sure I could take a guy who wears a small pullover. But at the same time, but that's where I was at. No
one should fight Staley. No one should do that. Yeah.
No, not at all. Please do not. Trust me, please. I'm the guy that on the show all the time. I'm so sick and tired of the fights at the stadium. I'm not preaching that all. I'm just doing the guy thing, what guys do in the living room. They just turn and look at each other and go, hey, just curious, who do you think you could take out here? That kind of deal. Like we all sit there and go, man, I'm glad I'm not the one trying to tackle Derrick Henry, right? We all know that's no fun. We don't want to do that. We don't want a broken collarbone. But at the same time, that's the way guys talk. And so today was one of those days where I just dropped that on Josh. And so all three of us are in the same boat, just so you know. Damn it. All right, let's wrap it up. That was a bad note to wrap it up on. We're frustrated like so many other people. We'll be back in a couple days. We're going to start talking about moving forward and what the Chargers have to do against the Vikes. Also, we'll recap how we did in our picks and everything this week. Don't forget there are 2 Monday Night Football games this week, which is exciting. Sunday Night Football, everything that's left to go. But hey, Justin Herbert, Josh did throw for 2 touchdowns today. That was a win-win for us. All right. Sometimes
Cash it,
you lose and
baby.
you win. Sometimes you lose and you still win, and that was a good day. So again, thank you for listening again through the Bolt City podcast on the Odyssey app. Thank you for watching on YouTube. We really appreciate the comments and the people that are following the show. Thank you so much for the comments. We read every single one of them. Please subscribe. For Mario Heron, Josh Palais, I'm Dave Palais. We'll see you next time.